All right, guys, give us a second. We got technical difficulties.
Can you?
Hey,
I can
you
hear
hear me
you.
now?
Can you hear me?
Okay, I can hear you
Yay!
now. I don't know what happened.
Right, let's start again.
System decided to get a little tricky on us. Can you getting any feedback on my
No, all
side
good, man.
when you
All
talk?
good.
Okay, cool. All right, let's fix your name, and because that's important. All right, cool. Well, welcome, guys. We are excited to be here. We're going to be talking about. You still there?
Still here, man.
Okay, there we go. We're going to be talking about a bunch of new mods that we've tracked down. We haven't done Mod World in a while, so we're going to be hitting that up. I recently went to the TWIPY Awards. Got to see the Wormhole and the Vault. So we're going to be sharing some footage from that experience. Celebrate a couple of wins that you and I took home, right? From at the TWIPYs
Yeah, man.
year.
Very exciting. Yeah.
Very exciting. And then what else? We got TPF coming up.
Yeah, man.
You're going to be
2
there,
weeks.
right,
2 weeks away. Yep. Everything's booked. Hotels booked. Planes are booked. I've got my funky shirts. I'm all ready to go, man.
Keep an eye out for Davey's funky shirts. All right, man. Where do you want to start? Because we got a bunch of stuff to do today.
Well, yeah. Let's go straight into the Wormhole stuff and talk about the TWIPYs.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, totally. So the TWIPYs this year were in Houston. Usually they're at during TPF, but they moved it to Houston. The Wormhole volunteered to have it hosted there. They got an amazing collection. Everyone that went got to see that. There was a tournament on Friday night and then another tournament on Sunday. So it's a pretty small affair. I think it was limited to like 40 people. But I know Colin, who put together the show, was looking to just do something different, kind of switch it up. And I think it was a great experience all in all. So when I got there on Friday, the first place we went is the Vault, which is this kind of like alternate location to the Wormhole. Both of them are private things. So like it's a club and you have to donate a game to be a part of it on some level. But the Vault was cool because it had a lot of European games that
Mephisto, man. That game is super rare.
Yeah. I have been to Pastimes Arcade in Ohio, which is Rob Burke, who is the main guy behind Expo. He has got some of the games that I saw here, but these were just fantastic to be around. And it was a cool place because it's where they work on the games as well. Some of the artwork is insane. I mean, there's a lot of like over sexualized images of women on a lot of these machines, and you see a lot of that stuff.
You were saying that you saw some Zaccaria games that you'd never seen before.
There were quite a few Zaccaria games here, and then there was at least one at the Wormhole too. That one's funny because it's like based on the Never-Ending Story. Let's see if I can pause it as he swings.
Yeah. It's. I think I have seen that one.
Yeah, so like that, the visual of that is very much just a rip off of the Never-Ending Story.
Yeah,
of course, it's not that. This truck game is really cool. I mean, the cool thing too is like all of them played really well. The ones that were on, there's Colin right there. This thing is pretty insane. It like you can kind of see what's going on with it. But basically, Dave, you remember the Borderlands game that we played at? Expo? So it's kind of got some of that going on where like these springs will basically change the play field, and they just got this, and they're going to be putting it together at some point. But
so they're not coils, like they're springs.
Yeah, I think I don't know. Honestly, I didn't get a kind of a description of how it worked.
Techno play, okay.
Yeah, something super interesting there.
Yeah, I've seen other techno play games before. I think again they're like an old European maker from memory.
Yeah. I'm gonna check the chat. We're back. I hope the audio is okay. Got echo though. Let me see if I can get my speakers.
No, I think it's all right now.
Okay.
Same guy said it's fine. So
cool.
Yeah, you're all good, man.
I see Neil out there. Neil, how's it going?
Yeah, Neil's here. Hey, this was Neil's response when I started talking about TPF. So I think he's very excited as well. Good to see Neil.
Nice. Yeah, so it was cool too because a bunch of people that are in the media space were there. Got to hang out with them. Let's see.
Oh yeah,
New Wave. Have you seen that one before?
Yeah, I have, man. Yeah.
The
I
game
reckon
that
that
really,
would.
the game I enjoyed the most, which isn't nearly as rare, but I got to play it a lot for the first time, was Pinball Magic. Do you know that one?
Yeah, I do,
Where there's
man.
the wand.
With the wands, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, it's
incredible game, an
incredible.
old Capcom game.
Yeah, I don't know that
I
one.
mean,
They have it.
Pinball Magic's quite rare.
Is it okay?
It is. Yeah, I mean, it's certainly not as rare as some, but it is. I would certainly consider it rare.
Right,
But
right.
the great thing about it is there it is on the left there,
Yeah,
is it plays really well as well. I mean, it's a
yeah.
really,
There's some
really
mechs in
fun
that
game.
game that I was like super impressed with. So, oh, there it is, Pinball Magic. Yeah, so
Yeah, it's a cracker, man.
yeah, a
Yeah.
little bit hard to see what's going on with it, but yeah. So that was cool. So that was the first stop. Earlier in the day, everyone went to this guy Russell's house, and he had a bunch of toppers. I didn't get to go, but he had some of our toppers, which was super excited to see.
Cool.
And then the next day, we did a tour of Barrels of Fun, which was really great.
Oh, yeah, exciting. There's a couple of rumors coming out of Barrels recently as well, that they might have Fifth Element. That's what the word on the street was today.
Okay.
Yeah, I think. Is that right? Yeah, I think it was Barrels that have Fifth Element. So that would be interesting if that's true.
Yeah, so they said they've got it ready to
Neil with
go.
that
I
one.
think they're looking for the right timing. Obviously, a lot of stuff coming out. We got Multimorphic coming out with their new game at TPF. Neil says they'll have the game at TPF.
Yeah, which is super exciting news if true. But yeah, you mentioned Multimorphic. They've been pretty hot to trot this week. They've got a couple of new products that they're launching as well, that we'll get to during Mod World. So it's interesting to see them sort of branch out into sort of more than just the board sets and the games and the game modules that they've been doing. So we'll have a talk about that in a bit.
Yeah, definitely a lot of good vibes on that. So I'll show a little bit from the Wormhole. This is one of the Zachariah games. I really love this game, Robot. It's got these 5 targets that pop up. They're kind of like the trolls from Medieval Madness. When you hit this ramp, they pop up. This place is really cool. I mean, there's a lot visually going on. It's not as big as I thought it was, seeing videos of it from time to time, but they've got a great collection there. And they've got some modern stuff there too. That at Elton and a Pulp is
Labyrinth,
Medieval Madness. So it was a cool setup for sure.
Yeah. I mean, I love their decor as well. Like the way that they've sort of just crammed the walls full of memorabilia and play fields and back glasses and stuff. Like the whole place is just a feast for the eyes, isn't it?
Yeah, so Neil, you're commenting. Do you like Robot? Is it fun? I mean, I really liked the action of it. I was curious if it was a fun game.
I think Robot's one of those ones because there's the ramp shot, which is, I think you can just sort of see it on the left there, the upper left, that leads into that purple ramp. Like that's such a critical shot in the game that it's really important that that your flippers are strong enough to hit that shot. Because if you've got weak flippers and you can't hit that ramp shot, it sort of spoils the whole game. Yeah. So really important to have good, strong flippers on Robot.
Yeah, it's got that pink ramp is really cool. I'd never seen a ramp with crit in the ramp plastic. So that was a really cool visual effect. This is Ian from the Nudge. He was one of the hosts. Don was there. You can see, yeah, man. I mean, there were some hiccups with the video stuff. Apparently, they had an outage citywide of the internet, so they ended up running.
Oh gosh, really?
But fortunately, that did end up working out.
It's always the way, isn't it, man? Like when you're doing these things, it's like you need to have like backup Wi-Fi ready to go, like a hotspot, just in case but it
worked out.
Goes down.
So that was good.
That's cool, man.
That's the guy that had all the machines. That's the guy who owns all the machines. I can't remember his name, but he owns all the machines at the vault and all the machines at the Wormhole for the most part, I think.
Yeah, very cool place, man. Very cool place.
Definitely.
And let's quickly talk about the TWIPYS, man. Firstly, like massive congratulations for basically a clean sweep of your category. Like what an amazing achievement!
Yeah,
man.
I was caught off guard because I couldn't hear what Topper had won. I knew we would probably have attack in the list, but it did win best aftermarket topper, which is super exciting. Huge thank you to everybody who voted for us. Godzilla Conquer Edition, and then we had Lebowski in there as
well. Yeah.
And then we got to get to you, but before we do, we got about, I think, 200 votes for Breakout Content Creator of the Year. Which, thank you to everybody for jumping in.
Thanks everybody. That's an amazing thing. I mean, Rob and I were talking a little bit about that before the show, and I guess for both of us, even promoting the voting for the show was kind of like a secondary thing for us, because obviously we've got our core businesses that we're running. I've got the mods and Rob's got the toppers, and so and even the show sort of, we were just saying, Rob and I, we put as much effort into it as we can, but it always has to take a backseat to the real business, which is making mods, making toppers. So we do this because it's fun, and it's a great chance to catch up and just talk about the scene that we love. But probably definitely we don't put as much effort into it as a lot of the other content creators do, who put their heart and souls into it. So it's really amazing that our shitty little show got the votes that it did, and that's an amazing thing, and thanks everybody for doing that. We try and position the show sort of in a little bit of a niche that isn't being catered for, which is the mods and the toppers and the homebrews, and so it's great that sort of, I guess, that's resonating.
Yeah, definitely. We're going to keep doing this. If anything, it's a great chance for Davey and I to stay in touch, which is always good. So, and thanks for everybody for following along. And then Davey, you are like the man behind the scenes on so many mods. And of course you got the #1 spot, transcendentally.
Yes.
Was it Jazz Boucher, I think?
Yeah. He got, and what a fantastic achievement. Did they post the voting, says Neil quickly. Yeah, they did. You
got to dig for it a little bit, but you can actually see, how tight the Kaneda electric bat really was.
Oh my God. Yeah. We probably won't touch onto that, but it's always really good fun to see the splits and to see the percentages and to see the primary and the secondary voting and sort of how that went. And, it's just, if you're a bit of a data nerd, it's always good to sort of dig deep into that and to see sort of, how that's played out. But yeah, Paul Boucher, or Jazz Boucher, as he's known on Pin side, who does fantastic figurative work with his mods. He's known for the Atomic Godzilla, that was the Godzilla replacement on the playfield, and then subsequently released a topper version of that too, and it was the topper version of I'm just reading Neil's.
You want to talk? You want to talk about.
Sorry.
Well, I will say a funny thing was, like, I walked over to Colin and I was like, "What's going on?" He's like, "I'm getting text right now, man. It's already started." It was an immediate reaction.
Oh my God, yeah. But let me just quickly. So this is the black and white version of Paul's mod that won mod of the year this year, and you can just see it's just an incredible piece of work. This, the first time he sort of showed me the renders, I just thought it looked so awesome. It's a really aggressive stance. His mouth opening, and as you said, it's a bit of a win for me too, because I do the electronics and the board work for this. Me and Paul very much, work very closely together on everything we do, and we're always asking each other for advice, and essentially we've got a very close working relationship. So a win for him is a win for me too, and I'm very, very happy for him to take that out, and he was absolutely chuffed with it, which is great.
I mean, you are the king of Godzilla mods. No mini meltdown over there when that happened?
Well, Kaneda had already sucked all the oxygen out of the room for meltdowns, hadn't he? So, I was getting a really nice meltdown video together, and then, it just paled in comparison. So
Yeah. Well, he
you
did
know.
entertain us for a good 3 or 4 days, so no
Yeah.
complaints there. He did his job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And shout out to Don's Pinball podcast too for doing a response to that as well. Have you seen Don's
Oh my
video
god! All right,
response?
now we're getting too deep into the topic.
uh,
No, that was a pretty epic piece of content. I will
yeah.
say.
I thought I thought it was very funny. So yeah, well done, Don. I thought very humorous stuff, man. And you know, if you're not laughing, then you're crying. So
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
well done, everybody.
for sure. So, all right, man, we're gonna do. Are we ready to move on to some mods? Is it
Yeah,
time?
yeah.
Can I
Let's
play
do
a
it. Let's
video?
do Mod World. You're gonna play the intro.
Fiverr special. Let's do it. All right, baby. We're doing
So I do
it.
my content creator intro. Well, it's been a big week in mods this week, hasn't it? No,
Speaking
we
of
don't do
that, you
shit.
did mention that you kind of felt like the volume of mods is kind of evolving in a downward trend. Is that kind
Well,
of?
yeah, I did think that.
And then
And
you got
then
on
clearly, yeah, and then literally 2 days later, everybody starts releasing shitloads of mods, and I'm like, that was full of shit. So,
Good deal.
yeah, no, I did think maybe it was just like a bit of a Christmas lull, or
Mhm.
maybe everyone was waiting until the TWIPYS were over, and then, so they could get in the next cycle of. Yeah,
Right.
I'm
Yeah.
sure that people weren't doing that. But yeah, I thought that possibly it'd be really interesting to see the data on it. You know, if it was even possible to compile such a thing, just to see sort of what the trajectory of sort of mod releases were over time, and you know, whether that correlated with, you know, pinball releases or whatever it is. And you know, I do think that a lot of makers will be waiting for Kong to come out, because I think that's going to be the next
Yeah.
really big pile-on for mods. Will be Kong, and you know, you can bet that I'll be watching that one closely too,
Definitely.
just because you know, Godzilla was such a massive game for us. But yeah, let's take a look at sort of what's been going on in the mod world. And speaking of Godzilla mods, this is one that I've sort of been holding off talking about for ages, because really I wanted to get it all installed in the game in my Godzilla and sort of film it with everything else and in context or whatever. But you know, I've just been dragging my heels on that for various reasons, and you know, other things have been getting in the way. But anyway, this is John, another UK modder, J85M, who has just been absolutely on a tear the last couple of weeks with his mods, and you'll see why when I show you sort of the next 3 mods. There's 3 mods in this list that are his, and this one's the Atomic King Ghidorah mod. So King Ghidorah is another Gaiju character in Godzilla. He's one of the enemies that you fight in the game. It's a 3-headed dragon, and the whole sort of idea behind this one was that, and this is the black and white version here. The whole idea behind this one was that it was going to complement the Atomic Godzilla that Jazz Boucher had done on the opposite side. So Atomic Godzilla is green with blue spines. This is sort of orange with sort of orangey red spines. And you can sort of see it in context there, with Atomic Godzilla on the left and Ghidorah on the right. And you know, like these things are always, pictures don't really do it justice. But sort of when sort of John was making this, I was a little bit concerned that the size of him was going to sort of be overpowering and whatever. But when you get it in the game and you put it next to Atomic Godzilla with the blue on the other side, like, it just balances so well. And I knew as soon as I put it in the game that it was going to be a monster hit. And it has been. It's been doing really, really well. You know, John's been, you know, I think this is probably easily sort of his biggest mod to date, and it deserves to be. It's an absolute cracker. So I'll just quickly switch to video, so you can see this is the one that I've got for Godzilla 70th. And this is my favorite out of the 2 as well, actually. I think the paintwork on this with the red spines just looks so great. He's done a really great job of sort of the dry brushing. You know, it's got a layer of clear coat over the top of it to sort of give it that sheen. Really great detailing. and just looks fantastic in the game. So if you have an Atomic Godzilla, I would thoroughly recommend checking this one out as well. It's an absolute cracker.
Yeah, I've heard a ton of people talking about this one, whether I'm at a show or getting messages. Like, there's a ton of good vibes out there. Tough call. I mean, in terms of, obviously you've got to remove Diddy's Tesla towers to put this one in. So.
I think you have to remove one of them. So I think,
okay.
Diddy, yeah. So John's gone to a lot of effort to make sure, and you can see in this picture too, he went to a huge amount of effort to make sure that the noodle bar in the background wasn't obscured, and you can see from standing height that it's not. It's still very visible, and he also wanted to make sure that Diddy's towers, weren't impacted too greatly as well. So I think you do have to remove the back one, but the front two can remain. So Godzilla can continue to be one of the most overcrowded modding landscapes in existence. But it's a modding paradise, and I think for people who love putting their own stamp on their games, Godzilla's just been such a fun game to work with in that respect.
Well, it's kind of funny. Like, the classic movies were basically mods fighting each other. It was they were models, right? So it just overpacking it is definitely fits the theme, I think.
Yeah, it's a thing, and I know it's not to everyone's flavor and stuff, but certainly for those of us who do love modding, it's been a hell of a lot of fun.
For sure. Very cool.
All right, should we move on?
Good.
All right, Pulp Fiction, bro. And I know that you've been having a lot of fun with Pulp Fiction recently.
Definitely.
Tell us quickly about what's happening in your world in regards to Pulp Fiction.
Yeah, well, we're dropping teasers like it's hot, Neil.
Yeah, Neil.
No, Neil is not liking our teaser strategy, but honestly, I'm so excited about this game, and the Topper, and we decided we were going to launch it a couple of days before TPF. And something we did differently this time is we announced it a couple weeks back when we announced we were doing the Alice in Wonderland Topper expansion as well. So we started to kind of grow this wait list, and I was like, we got 100 people or so. We've got their emails. Like, let's trickle a little bit of content out to them to kind of keep them engaged and kind of take them along for the ride. And Alex saw that content. He's like, oh man, I got to put this out, on Pinside or whatever. And I was like, okay, fine. So it was like the whole strategy was to, give it to the people who we know care, right? Not just the looky-loos or the people that don't have the game, but it's kind of gone outside of that. So we're rethinking the strategy for our next Topper.
Please don't, bro. Please don't. Like the two dudes who complained about it, right? One of them is like a known complainer, and the other one prides himself on being the world's biggest pinball troll. So, and he will readily admit to that, won't you, Neil? I don't know whether you're still in the chat.
He must be gone because he was blowing up the chat. No, it's not
but no, he loves being the world's biggest pinball troll. So I would not worry.
Well, we did notice. But yeah, we're gonna keep the content coming. Good. So we got so we announced that there's speakers in the Topper.
Cool.
Yeah, so like that's gonna be a first for us. I think a first for anybody, really. And it's gonna tie in with a light show, and there's more to come for sure. So that'll be announced next Thursday. We're gonna open up deposits on that. But yeah, man, I'm excited that people are making some stuff for Pulp. I mean, like, we kind of talked about that whenever we first
previewed. No, totally. And and this was a really interesting test case as well, because there hasn't been many mods for Pulp. And so John, who we just spoke about, who did the Atomic King Ghidorah, has just released these guys. So these are the pop bumpers in Pulp Fiction, and he has redone them. So essentially they're like neonified versions of them, and you can see sort of he's lighting it up with his phone there. And look, he's already said, I think, when did he release these? Like a week ago, 10 days ago. And there's so many people on the list already. They're very sort of simple idea, really, just kind of like turn them into better lit versions of what was there already. But he's done them very well. I think they're very pretty. He's using, I think, PA12, which is like a nylon-based 3D printing material, which can only be produced by the big print farms. And then he's using sort of various techniques like vapor smoothing to make sure there's no print lines or anything like that. So, they're super high quality. They look really great. I think he should be able to just sort of knock these guys out, which is really great. And he's had a good response for them. So, I think that, in a lot of ways, it's a very sort of simple mod. There's no electronics in them or whatever, but people have been really receptive to them, and I think it shows that there's probably quite a good appetite for Pulp Fiction mods out there.
Yeah, have you done the vapor smoothing? Is interesting because that's a lot of work. I don't know if you've messed with that, but definitely cool to see him kind of taking something that he knew was going to be good and really putting on the fine touches to make it.
Yeah, so I haven't actually spoken to him about it. He has shown some. Let me see if I can find the pictures. Maybe here. So look, he's.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure whether this is his setup or the setup of the supplier who's providing the PA12. So I will ask him about that for the next show because, as we sort of have discussed on other shows, it's always interesting when new techniques come out. And there's another mod that I'll be covering soon that uses a Raiden Gorby mod, who I know you're a big fan of. One of his mods that both I and Paul were like, what's he using for that? Like it obviously needs to be a certain type of material. And when I got it in hand, I didn't really recognize what he used. So, it's always really exciting for all the makers when somebody's using a new technique or a new product or a new material that we've not seen before, because, just the more tools that are in the tool belt, the better, really.
Yeah, for those who aren't familiar with it, which I'm sure is basically everybody, it's basically taking fingernail polish like substance and letting the 3D printed part live in that vapor, and it actually melts a certain kind of 3D printed material so that the print lines effectively disappear. It leaves a little bit of a shine on it, but then of course it can be painted. But what it does is it creates a better finish. But you're dealing with hazardous chemicals. I'm sure there's a lot of work to be done to get your setup right. And then you got to leave it in there for like 20 or 30 minutes.
And I think you lose some edge detailing.
You
as
do,
well,
yeah.
just by
So
virtue of the process.
you would never put something with a lot of detail in an experience like that.
Yeah.
But
were you experimenting with that when you were producing your Conquer edition?
Yeah, because we were trying to get rid of the print lines, and I can't remember what the material is called, but at the end of the day, like the juice wasn't worth the squeeze in the terms of like getting rid of the print lines through just doing multiple coats and a little bit of sanding in a couple of cases. So yeah, we tested it out, but decided it wasn't worth it.
Yeah, cool, man. So this is, I think this is a really good sign for Pulp Mods. I know that that we've sort of talked about sort of other areas of Pulp that might need work. I've sort of hinted that I'll be possibly looking at the pawn shop at some point. And we've sort of identified another bunch of areas. I think Paul might be looking at another area as well. So, I think seeing these do well is a good sign for other mods for Pulp as well.
Yeah, it's having it in house. It's such a great game. I'm sure most people by this point have played it on location, but having it in a dark room, letting the sound really come to life. The shaker on that game, which is very rare to see, I think, is awesome. And then put some Invisiglass on it, just really pops. Like it's a fantastic game.
How's your playfield holding up?
Good. Well, so the one that I have right now is actually a game that was on location for a little while. And the scoop in the center, I guess that's a scoop, and then the up kick on the briefcase boogie on the left, they're both showing where the ball kind of goes over, which is I got it like that. I would be frustrated as an owner. I'd be frustrated as hell as an owner to see that.
Yep.
Um,
Yep.
but
Yeah, we've there's a whole bunch of UK dudes who have all bought new playfields and sent them over to Cruzman
wow.
to get them clear coded. Well, because we all love the game so much, but the playfields are a bit not great. So
which do you have the standard or you got the LE?
I've got the LE, yeah.
Okay.
So
yeah.
But it's early run as well. It's like really early run, I think.
Okay.
Like 30 or something. So
you just got it relatively recently then, right?
I did, yeah, which is why I was surprised, because I think that was late in the LE cycle. Mm-hmm. So that's why I was quite surprised that my number was so low, really. And mine's not showing any sign of wear. Not that I play it massively, but I'm certainly playing it sort of quite a fair bit. It's in the house, so that's my sort of go-to game at the moment.
Do you have a shaker on it?
I do, yeah.
Okay, yeah. The spinners, it cleaned the car. I don't know if you've got that mode.
Yes, yeah. You just reminded me. I had to think about it. I was like, do I have a shaker? But clean the car mode. Yeah, no, I definitely remember it from that. So that's that mode's big point scoring mode. That one, if you can.
Cool. Well, it's going to be tough to get anybody to swap toppers, but if you even think about it, I want to know, because that's a win for me. Is if you just think about it.
yeah. Well, yeah, mate, I'm very excited to see the full reveal.
It's cool
because I've seen a lot of
different vibe. I think people are gonna eat it up. So yeah, curious to hear what you think.
Yeah, man, I'm excited. I mean, I've seen all the progress pics, but I've not seen any final pictures. So I think I'll wait too until I see the proper full reveal, just so I can sort of like.
No, I'm not. I haven't sent you anything recently on purpose. So.
Yeah, cool, man, cool. Okay, one more for Mr. John J85M. As I said, he's been on an absolute tear this week. So he's also released a topper upgrade for Jaws. Now, you will remember that Tom TDiddy has also done a topper upgrade for Jaws, which he did in limited numbers. I think he did 50 of them. And we'll talk about that in just a sec, because that's an interesting topic. But this is the top upgrade that John's released recently. That is kind of celebrating, I guess, the famous scene of whatever his name is, trying to shoot the shark leaning on the mast of the sinking boat. I'm sure if you're a massive Jaws fan, then this is like going to be right up your street. And it's very, very well done. It's got the beach closed sign on the right. And he's done the bit that I liked the most was sort of the effect that he got on the water here. He sort of used multiple sort of shading effects on the water to get a really nice effect with the white on the top. So really nice job, John, on that one. And the reason why I sort of mentioned the other topper mod.
We got some drama going on with this?
A little bit of drama. Yeah. Let's hit the drama. So this is Tom's topper mod for Jaws as well. Now it was limited edition, exclusive limited edition Jaws topper. I think he was doing 50 from memory. Now, since the release of John's mod the other day, Tom teased this image here with the very enigmatic emoji at the top, sort of scratching his chin, sort of, I guess, testing the atmosphere for doing it again. And Sirocco, who you'll know quite well. Instantly sort of came back and said that if he wanted to release more, then he should probably go back and change the wording on the original post.
This is, we faced this with our Lebowski topper. I had a guy the other day that was like, "Hey, will you make one for me? I won't tell anybody." And then, it's just like, but you can't really cross that bridge because
no, look, I agree. And it's a tricky one, man. Like, okay, so I've sort of come across this as well, right? So Tokyo Neon I guess around about the 800 or 900 mark was sort of starting to taper off, and I'm like, I'm just going to cap it at some point so I can move on with other stuff. I was reading a lot of posts by Greg Medicinal and what his outlook on this kind of stuff was, and he was sort of like, creatively, I just need to move on to the next thing and not focus on stuff that I've done in the past. And I was like, yeah, I sort of get that, and he was sort of talking about not wanting to dilute, people, the market and things like that. And so anyway, like I was getting so many messages about opening up Tokyo Neon again, to the point where I was responding to about 3 or 4 messages a day. I was like, I've got to do something about this because it's just chewing time. But I didn't really know how to approach it because I had heard that people on the secondary market had paid well over the asking price, for ones on the secondary market. So I'm like, I don't want to piss those people off. So, how do I approach this? And so, for me, it was a bit of a non-event, really. I kind of just posted, I just sort of farmed it out to everybody else. And I was like, I'm thinking about doing this. What does everyone think? I'm worried about these people who have paid 500 quid for one on the secondary market. And the way I ended up managing those people is that I gave them like vouchers for mods in the future. Just said, oh, look, here's whatever the difference is between the asking price and what you paid, I'll give you a voucher for mods down the track. But look, I think transparency is key in those situations. And I think you do have to respect that some people will, or might be upset with you if you go back on your word, but definitely not doing it on the sly. And I'm not suggesting Tom's doing that at all.
Yeah,
because
yeah.
Tom's a stand-up dude. I love Tom. But certainly, like, what I meant was what you were referring to when people sort of PM you and say, I won't tell anyone. It's like, it's just not worth.
Yeah. And people pay attention. I mean, like, we live in a society where it seems like no one reads anything and they just skim over everything. But whenever it's something they're passionate about, they're paying attention. So definitely, I know for myself, and we've talked about this before, it's like, generally got to honor the original commitment, because otherwise it just, breaks that trust.
Yeah, exactly. And that's our bread and butter, isn't it? That trust and that connection with the customer. As soon as you start taking that for granted, everything falls apart. So, it's not worth a single sale in order to compromise, that could potentially compromise that relationship with the customer. So anyway,
all right, what else you got?
It'll be interesting to see how Tom handles that.
Yeah.
Right, let's move on. All right, so PinMonk, man. PinMonk.
Oh, I saw this and I was like, this is awesome. I didn't realize it was PinMonk. Has he
It's PinMonk, man.
I know he does a ton of mods, but does he do stuff like this?
Well, so PinMonk is known for his flipper fans predominantly.
Yes,
he produces flipper fans, but he's also a very prolific pinside poster. Very helpful. He's always very, he's particularly on the threads where he's sort of got the game, but he tends to have most games from what I can see. And he's just always there to help people with information, with measurements, with photos, with explanations of problems. He's a real asset to the community, particularly for people who have issues with their games or trying to fettle them in some way. But yeah, obviously he's known for his flipper fans. He's not necessarily known for figurative mods like this. So this is a mod for Metallica Revisited. He mentioned probably a month ago that he really wanted to cover up these spotlight brackets. They're kind of like square metal brackets that stick out. I don't know why they use these and not like the normal spotlights that are on most pinball machines.
Is that unique to the new one, or is that the same as it was in the original?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure, man. And it might be, maybe it's a UV thing as well. I haven't actually checked that, because it is shining on the UV areas, isn't it? So maybe they're UV spotlights. But he mentioned that he wanted to cover them up with something, and I didn't know sort of what he had in mind. But yeah, he's come out with these grotesque hands with yellow fingernails and spikes going up through the center of them. I think the spikes are there in order to cover like a post or something. So they're there sort of as they serve a purpose, the spikes, other than just being like spikes through your hands. But yeah, I was quite impressed. I was like, oh, well, way to go, man. I hope he does really well with these. I'll try and get I think I'm going to order some, so I'll try and get some in hand, and then
They look really cool. I mean,
there's one from the top. Yeah.
I hope they don't like create too much of a barrier to the view, but it doesn't look like it adds that much. I mean, it was already
No, it certainly adds a little bit, I think.
yeah,
But I think if you bear in mind that the spotlight brackets were already there anyway,
right, right,
obscuring the view, then it's probably not taking that much away. But yeah, we
yeah,
can, I'll try and order a set, and I'll get them in Metallica, and we can check it out.
cool. I like
Yeah.
it.
All right, should we move on? More Metallica mods. Okay, back to Tom TDiddy. So he's been quite quiet for a while. Um, Probably, I don't know, 3 or 4 months. Haven't really sort of heard much from him. He's probably just been fulfilling, his previous sort of product line. But then he dropped 2 mods on the trot. The first one is this Cemetery mod for Metallica Remastered, which essentially creates like an arch and 2 pillars with lit gargoyles at the top, and some gravestones and skulls. And I think it's great, man. I think he's done a really good job of that. Really adds to that area of Metallica. I think that Mezzle Mods have another graveyard mod of a similar sort of ilk. I think this one I think this one's better. And I think he's done a really good job of that. So the other mod that he dropped, so there you can see sort of the skulls in the background there. So yeah, it looks really good, man. I think the paintwork's really good. He's done really good detailing on it. So I've ordered one of these, and the one that I'm really impressed with is his other one, which is his hammer replacement.
Oh,
Um,
cool. I missed this in your link.
yeah,
That's really nice.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, really nice, man. So I think out of the two, this is I mean, look at the paintwork that he's done on the skull. Really, really nice, man. So I think every time Tom releases something, it sort of just gets better and better. And this is probably like the best one that I've seen him do, personally. I think the skull's really nice. I think the paintwork's really nice. Um, Now, Orich, is that how you pronounce his name? I'm pretty sure it's Orich, who's sort of known for doing sort of the Shadow, the comic book Shadow Translite. Very good illustrator. He used to work for Highway Pinball, if I'm not mistaken. Um, he has also he is also known for doing like a really, really awesome hammer for the original Metallica, and I know that he's looking to redo that hammer for Metallica Remastered as well. His version used laser cutting of real wood, which creates like a singed sort of burnt charcoal effect on the side of the wood that he laser cuts, and then he sort of combines it to sort of be like a hexagon with leather sort of binding and like spike rivets going around it. Very, very cool, man. But not cheap. About 600 bucks to get one of those hammers. But if you really want to add something very special, very unique to your Metallica, then that hammer was always the one to get. So it's nice that Tom's sort of doing an alternative sort of version, which is equally awesome. But just to say, also be on the watch for Orich's updated version that he's going to be releasing for Metallica Remastered as well.
Nice. Yeah. I haven't seen that one. Has he released a price on this one?
Oh, that's a good point. 190 bucks. So,
Okay.
Very, very good price. I mean, Tom's always comes in at a decent price, to be honest. And this is no exception. So yeah, well done, Tom. Very,
Yeah.
very
I like
pleased with
that.
those, and I can't wait to get them in hand. And when I do, we'll do a proper, video showing of them and stuff.
Nice.
Okay. Now, I mentioned Raiden Gorby earlier in the chat. Do you remember Raiden Gorby?
I
What?
do. Yeah, he does. He's done mods, toppers, a little bit of everything. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. He's done some fantastic Foo Fighters toppers, an amazing bomb thing that
Yep.
had like a
Yep.
remote control that was very cool. And I think you really loved his UFO for Foo Fighters, didn't you?
Yeah,
With
he's
the
done that. He did a Bond mod with the smoke trail behind. So
yeah,
he's got
yeah,
and he's developed his talent, and I think he makes like mascots, like or like really complex caricatures for people to wear in movies, different things like that. So he's a pretty talented guy for sure.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Cool. I mean, he doesn't tend to be sort of massive on pin side, really.
Hmm.
We sort of pick up on his stuff through Facebook. I think he had an Etsy store at one point.
Yeah.
But yeah, he sort of flies under the radar a little bit. Like I've never met him, never shared any messages with him, but would love to sort of hook up with him one day. So yeah, Raiden. I don't even know what his real name is. But mate, if you ever see this, get in touch. You know, we'd love to have you on the show one time and have a chat about, um, where you sort of cut your teeth on all this stuff, because it sounds like a pretty interesting job. That you've got, and it'd be great to sort of hear some more about that. But anyway, he has just released a very simple mod for Foo Fighters that so Foo Fighters, amazing game. Sorry, Foo Fighters. What am I talking about? Uncanny X-Men, amazing game by Jack James, the same person who did Foo Fighters, but hasn't been without its controversy. An incredible, ambitious layout, really great ball paths, really weird sort of flipper setup at the bottom. But the word on the street is that Stern rushed it out because they were forced to, because another game got cancelled and stuff. So as a result of that, there's been a couple of teething issues that customers have been struggling with. One of them is the auto launch, not making it all the way around to come back onto the right flipper. And the second one has been what's referred to as flipper hop. And now flipper hop is what happens when a ball comes down the in lane and the flipper is slightly proud of the guide moving that ball down. So what tends to happen is it'll hit the rubber on the flipper and just bounce, which makes it really hard to sort of get a clean hit on the flipper when it happens. It's quite noticeable on a lot of old games, like old sort of Bally titles sort of had that issue, and it was an issue on a lot of Uncanny X-Men games as well. There's a lot of chat on the Pinside Uncanny X-Men forum about it, and people trying to solve the issue. So Raiden Gorby's come out with a very clever sort of little cover for the inlane that essentially removes the problem. I think he's sold like 100 of these already, or maybe 200 actually. So he's doing really well with them. All the feedback has been really positive. Everybody has been really impressed with how they work. And essentially it just completely fixes the issue. So the issue was sort of culminating two ways. One, balls sort of coming down the left in lane and bouncing there. And the one that everybody was experiencing was when it came down this wire ramp here and was held here. And when it bounced down, there'd be a really massive bounce. So you can see now that this guide has completely eliminated the issue. Now, one of the other very interesting things for us makers. Let me just quickly do this, and then for the makers was the material of this guide. Now, obviously, because it's in a quite a heavy heavy area in terms of ball hits and things like that, it needed to be really resilient sort of material to sort of withstand those kinds of things. You can see it's transparent or translucent. And it's got quite a rubbery texture to it. So it's not, well, it might be resin, but it's not the typical resin that that you usually get in translucent, because that is incredibly brittle to the point, sorry, pardon me, to the point where if you dropped it from a height, it would fracture and break, whereas this has got quite a fair bit of flex to it and a real rubbery sort of consistency to it. So me and Paul were immediately like, what has he used? Like, trying to find the product so that we can use it as well, because it's a fantastic thing, really resilient. And for situations like this, where you are going to be worried about the ball sort of, damaging it, I suppose, something like this is perfect. So we think it's tough resin, I think, is what we isolated, which is just sort of one of the different variants of resin that you can use in 3D printers. But yeah, would love to talk to you, man, and find out, if you're willing to let us know what the product is. We'd love to find out.
And there's a couple options for this out there. I think there's a small 3D printed part that you can try as well.
Yeah, that's true.
So a lot of people having this issue.
Yep.
I've experienced it in the games. Like apparently the placement of that post is different from game to game. So that's something, I don't know how his product addresses that, but if you're doing the 3D printed part, you can make some adjustments, I think.
Yeah. So somebody raised that with him in the thread, and I think this covers sort of both types. I think initially the first version didn't, but then he did some updates to it. So I think this covers sort of both variations of where that ball guide sits. So all reports that I've read is that essentially it solves the problem entirely. But as you say, there's a very essentially free 3D model that is just like a little clip, basically, that clips to that metal ball guide and just sort of tweaks the ball path slightly so that the ball doesn't whack against the flipper in the same way. So, one of the reasons I really like this one is because I think it's a really beautiful part as well. I think it looks really good in that position. Sort of matches the X-Men sort of design ethos. But if you do want a cheaper option, then check out that STL as well. It's freely available and you can just print it yourself.
Yeah, and a huge shout out to him for doing that. I mean, we did that on Bond with our Bond loop fix, and you end up, he's not making a lot of money off this part. I can promise you that. He's effectively, offering this as kind of as a service to people because he loves pinball. So definitely want to give him a huge shout out for taking this one on. It's great to see, these issues being fixed.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's such a fantastic game. I'm a big fan of this. I'm a big fan of Jack Danger's. I think it's been a pretty hard road for both Uncanny X-Men and probably Jack too. Like, with all of the issues that have been experienced, and I feel sorry for him. And I hope that, and I feel like the game's starting to turn a corner now. Like after the last code release, there's a lot more positivity in the thread. Certain negative characters have been not excluded, but they've pissed off, which is really great. And I think the thread on the whole is a lot more positive now. And I think a lot of the owners are just starting to enjoy everything a lot more, which is really great to see.
Yeah, I mean, it'll come together over time. I think it's as a casual player of the game on location, I'm like looking at like those gambit shots, and I'm like, they're not contributing to the game. They're not like with you look at like Avengers, and it's like everything just means something, right? It all contributes to this stuff. And as you look at the playfield, it's like there's just so many things that you feel like should contribute to things. And I know it's coming around a little bit. I've been kind of following along because Alec has the game, and I'm like, the Danger Room doesn't do anything. He's like, no, that's not true. It actually provides a value. So it sounds like they're starting to knock things off the list. But it's certainly they're taking their time with it.
You can say that again. Especially when you've got it released at the same time as D&D, which is basically releasing code updates every 5 minutes. And already started with like a massive code base.
But that's how it was with Bond with me. Like Foo came out not after, and it was like, oh my god, like there's so much going on the screen, and there's all this information being communicated, and it's so deep, and the animations. Then at the end of the day, like. Bonds,
they all end up in the same place, don't they?
Bonds in the top 15. I don't know if it is still, but it'll come around, I think.
I think Bond is very, very high, and I think that I mean, this is just the nature of the beast, isn't it? Like, you just have to be patient with these things, and not everyone is.
Well,
And
if you only have a couple games, I mean, and you don't like
yeah,
it, you know,
yeah,
then you don't
yeah.
really shouldn't have to be patient, but you do. So
No, no,
yeah,
you shouldn't have to be, and yet this is where we are really, at
yeah,
least in terms of Stern titles. So, um, for some of us who have sort of been through it before, you kind of just a bit more used to it. But certainly for newcomers, particularly to new in-box buying, it would be a stressful process. And if it is your one game, you've spent your entire pinball pot on it.
yeah,
You don't want it to fail as well, and be left with a lemon that you can't sell, or that you're going to lose a lot of money on. And
no.
I know that pinball shouldn't be about those things, but if you're hoping to sort of keep rolling over a certain amount of yeah. So, all right, Don,
We were
fine.
talking about you earlier, Don. We'll talk about mods soon enough. We gave you a shout
Yeah.
out.
All right, Don. Fine. You're right. I was prattling on. All right, let's move on. Right, we got
He
okay.
just showed up.
So
He doesn't get
yeah,
to.
he shows
He
up and
doesn't
starts.
dictate our agenda.
Yeah, we'll talk about pinball investing if we want. No, I
Yeah.
prefer not to actually. Okay, so Multimorphic, man.
Yeah, man. I gotta give a shout out. They announced today that Brad Albright, who's our boy, he did Attack from Mars. He's doing Pulp Fiction. He did our Captain Fantastic. He's the artist on their next game.
Oh wow, that's incredible, man.
Yeah,
That's
so
so
kudos
good.
to
Oh,
Brad. He is, and
mate,
he
Brad is
did, of
smashing it.
course, Motorhead as well. That was
Yep.
his first one. But yeah, man,
Yep.
Multimorphic's on a tear. It looks like.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, great to see, and it makes a lot of sense, doesn't it? I mean, they've got all of this sort of R&D investment and suppliers for all this stuff, and they spotted a gap in the market. Voodoo Glass is probably so far the main supplier of what do you call it? Is it PDI glass? What
There's
I don't know.
PDI and Voodoo. Those are two separate things.
Okay,
Yeah, yeah,
okay, yeah.
yeah.
So PDI is not the descriptor of the type of glass. That's a brand name.
I think so, yeah. And
Okay.
they've got a bit of a different price point, and I don't know the exact price here, but I think this one's cheaper than both of them.
Well, yeah. So the launch special is $150 for the PinGlass Plus. Normal PinGlass, that's just like pinball glass. So that's by the by.
I mean,
But it's
like that's really, really cheap.
the $150
Yeah,
for the
right?
yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And I think that the normal price will be like 170 or maybe 180. So this
Okay.
is like the intro price. But either way, it's a really interesting move for them. Like to go from being essentially a board supplier, which probably, and I would love to know the split, but
And they're
really
not,
the
yeah, he did an interview. Jerry did an interview with Loser Kid recently, and they don't
yep.
do like the board stuff allowed them to get to where they are, but Spooky was their main buyer of the boards for a long time, and Spooky has their own stuff now. So I don't know that they do so much business in that area, but obviously they know how
Okay.
to do that business. So
Yeah, yeah,
it clearly
yeah.
made,
They're
yeah.
I guess their warehouse and their fulfillment
Hmm.
stuff would be geared around being able to send out. But glass is another kettle of fish, isn't it? Like, how do you ship it? Do you just sell it at
It's interesting though,
shows?
because I mean,
Like,
like you and I obviously buy a lot of things like splitters. I
yeah,
mean, you kind of do this, right? Like you sell a splitter and then you
yeah,
kind of ship with some of your
yeah,
product. Yeah. So
yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, and we talk a lot about this in the past, haven't we? Like, at the moment, people think, oh, the splitters are always sold out, and it's like, well, they're actually always in stock. It's just that I don't sell them individually because that's not sort of how my current business model is. But when it comes to selling mods, there's always the option to buy a splitter with that mod, just because it makes a lot of sense to do so. But ideally, I'd love to move into the position where we are just able to like open up the website for orders and then just
mhm.
ship stuff out. But there's just not enough resource in the business at the moment to
Yeah,
be able
because the
to
customer
accomplish that.
service side for stuff like that really starts to add up whenever you're doing the volume, and then
Yeah,
you got to kind of price that in. But
yeah,
yeah. So anyway, like it's cool to have an option. I think it's really tough to make that $350, $400 pull that trigger, and it's hard to recommend that to another pinball collector. But the value is really there.
Yeah,
So I
yeah,
hope
for
this is
sure.
as good as the other stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, very exciting news from them that they're sort of going in that direction. Good luck with that, Jerry. Hope it goes really well for you, man. I think they
And
haven't
so, and
launched.
just
So
real quick for anybody, like if you don't know about Invisiglass, what it's doing, or this category of product, it's reducing the glare on the glass coming from the back translight or the screen. So if you have a game where that's really really high and it's causing a distraction, you got to look for it sometimes to see it's there. But this is going to eliminate that by, I don't know what, like 70% roughly.
yeah. So there's sort of two images here that you can see. So that's the Invisiglass, and that's the normal glass.
Mhm.
And essentially, that's a pretty good representation of what it looks like, really.
Yeah.
Um, it just reduces the glare, particularly in situations where you've got sort of a lot of, lighting above the pinball machine, lighting from the back glass, all those kind of things. It does make a big difference. It's one of those things that I've got it on a couple of games, not all games. And I'm so slack about keeping my glass clean just because it's such, like I'm all you keep everything immaculate because as soon as dust gets on it, it may as well be any glass at that point. But if you keep your glass like super clean, there's no comparison between like Invisiglass and normal glass at that
Yeah.
point.
Don's getting all technical on us. I assume this is true. I'm not going to fact check it right now.
Yeah. He's out geeking us, man. How dare he? Yeah.
He's multi-talented content producer.
Yeah. Right. So let's not do that one. Right. Okay. Yeah. Let's talk toppers.
Yeah. So I brought this one to the table. I was blown away by this. I think it was
Same, man.
also, I was just impressed with they had it so soon with the release
Yeah.
of D&D. I mean, this thing came out
100%.
like I thought it was the factory one just because it was of the
Yeah.
timing of it.
Yeah.
And it's really cool. I mean, I know that this particular mod maker, that's his thing to do these screens in the back. So he had that part figured out ahead of time. I think he's done a lot of toppers with the screen. He did a Pirates one that
Yep.
we're going to show off. But the
Yep.
movement on this is incredible.
Yep.
It was, I think it's 16 or $1,700, which I can definitely see why that is because there's a lot
Yep.
in this one. But
Yep.
as a D&D fan, and with the back glass featuring this character, whoever the hell he is, so prominently
Yep.
on at least the pro, I mean,
Yep.
it's a great fit for that.
Yeah.
So super.
Absolutely. Vincent Mods. So yeah, I mean, you hit all the the important sort of talking points there. I think like the fact that he brought it out so quickly.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it was like a matter of weeks. So he must have just been working on this night and day to produce it to this level. And yeah, I mean, as you say, probably a lot of the technical aspects of it were probably already built out because if you see his Pirates topper here,
You getting
which
messages from
again,
Bush, or what's going on?
what's that?
You getting messages from GW?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, me and him are bros, man. Yeah.
Cool.
So you can see that he's probably using servos or motor arms or something to create this sort of this effect with all the different tentacles and stuff. So a lot of his tech probably was already built out for that Dungeons and Dragons one. But again, what a freaking awesome mod this one is, hey. Like the tentacles and the black pearl boat, rocking back and forth. So very, very cool. Very good to see sort of, other people sort of doing some interesting mechanical movement in the topper space. And yeah, credit to him, man. I know, there's been a couple of people sort of fed back who said that they sort of don't actually like the screen sort of thing that he's doing, behind the toppers or whatever. So it's always a matter of personal preference, these things. But for me personally, I think it's a cracker.
Yeah, I mean the screen's cool. I think the squareness of it is going to probably turn some people off. I think I heard some comments, some folks talking about how this was kind of very similar to the tilt topper version that came out, but overall, like very technically very impressive work.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and the paint work and the sculpt work is all really, really good. So yeah, Vincent Mods, if you want to check him out.
Cool.
Right, Luke Moore, JW.
Hey, buddy. Hey, buddy.
Yeah,
We lost your video, but
Oh,
I don't
hang
know
on.
that it matters
So,
too much. We'll be all right.
Okay, well, I'll just keep talking. It's probably the charge on my camera.
What else you got?
Right, so here I am back again, but I'll probably jump off again in 2 seconds. It's that same problem with the battery on my camera. So let's have a look at this, man. This is one that you sent me recently.
Oh yeah, so this is a mod for the mod makers out there. Kick this video off. I at first I was like, is this actually like a useful thing? But then I started to see what it does, and it's a vice, right? But it looks like a delicate vice because it's like you can really clamp down on an object without breaking it because it conforms around the object. And whether you're making mods or working on your pinball machine or whatever, this is the toy for the guy that has everything, for sure. So there's a typical vice, and this kind of like clamps down around. It's not cheap. It's on Kickstarter right now. I think that model is like $300, and then the bigger one is like 500. But
they even had a gold plated one, I think.
Yeah,
sold out almost immediately.
But it's just a cool thing. Maybe I'm building my Christmas list here. If Margaret, you're watching.
Yeah. I was close to pulling the trigger on one, man, just because I thought it was so cool. But I haven't, obviously, because I thought to myself, I was like, when was the last time I actually used a vice?
Totally.
And I use like PCB holders all the time, and I've got to say that's probably what I would use it for, is like a PCB holder. But
do you never need to like drill a hole in a mod that you're prototyping, and you need it very certain way? Like,
but I guess do it a bit more ghetto, like, and I just kind of hold it and drill it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It never needs to be as precise as this. But I just love the engineering on it. I mean,
well, the way they're marketing it is like, we're bringing back a device that doesn't really get used anymore. So I think they're fully acknowledging that like it's overkill for what someone may need. But at the same time, like, go back to their page. Like, I don't know how to judge Kickstarter success anymore, but it's like,
well, yeah, look at that, man.
It's killing it, you know, in terms of the amount of.
So I think. So this is. So they had a 8,500 pound goal, and they've blown it up by, well, you know, you do the math.
So what, $750,000, something like that. It's just really cool to see that, like, there's a market for such a niche item, because like in pinball, you know, we're in the niches of niches, and it's cool to see that there's other stuff out there that's getting as much love as pinball, for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Let me quickly see if I can pull up the. Back this project. Here we go.
Don, can you do a little conversion rate on that? We want to know the USD price of these bad boys for us.
Oh yeah, look at this guy.
Oh, it's gone. It's gone.
Open on new tab, can I? Oh yeah, look, there's the gold one.
Beautiful.
Ooh, that's just like nobody. You need to be a certain kind of person to find that sexy.
Totally.
But,
yeah.
You know,
sorry to force that on you guys. Here we go. Don didn't do any calculations, but he can clamp his.
Yeah. Okay, man, that's it. That's it. Me.
That's it.
Yeah, that's it. That's all we got.
We're at time anyway.
Yeah, we're out of time. Yeah.
All right. So what's coming up? We got TPF. We got at least one new game. Neil was here earlier. Don. I don't know if this is breaking, but he says that Barrels of Fun is releasing, what was it? I can't remember. Oh,
Fifth Element.
Okay.
Yeah. That's the word on the street.
Heard it. You heard it here second.
Probably fourth, fifth.
And we'll be there. We're going to have our Pulp Topper in the Wormhole booth. So Jamie was kind enough to make sure to bring his Pulp game. So we'll be there. Dave, are you going to be roaming the floor?
Yeah, I'm going to be roaming the floor. And you're going to be roaming the floor too. You're not going to be tied to a booth. And then Nick's going to have
Tony Hawk there.
Oh, okay, cool.
And he built a new ramp, so instead of the ball, when it goes all the way around, like just dropping into the playfield, it actually feeds the right flipper. He's super excited about that.
Cool. All right.
So now my video's popping.
This has been a technically unprofessional show. You know, this is how we roll. It's what makes us so charming.
Drinks Thursday night. I get in on Friday, Don. So, but I
I'll
think
be
we're
there.
going to do a
I'll be
happy
there
hour,
Thursday.
In our booth, or at least at the Wormhole's booth on Friday. So definitely come check that out.
Yeah. We're going to do some roaming interviews like we always do.
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, let's do it. We'll bring everyone the latest and greatest in modding and homebrewing and whatever else we can be bothered doing.
Well, thank you, everyone. Signing off of episode 25. We'll see you after TPF and let you know about everything we saw there. Davey, have a great night, man.
You too, Rob. See you soon, man. See you, everyone.